Yesterday, using the topic of Tadanga Santi, momentary peace, as the basis, Sayadaw spoke about Jhana, how in one moment of observation, one needs to, in order to make the mind stick to the obvious object of observation, one needs to apply aiming, the factor of aiming the mind. And this is not thinking about the object, this is actually aiming the mind. Jhana involves focusing, aiming. So this is very important. If one observes the object using aim and making effort, then the mind will come to contact the object directly. It will become concurrent with the object, and it will be as though it's rubbing against the object. This makes our noting effective. So when we always have aiming, the mind then is fresh. It blossoms. Aiming is the direct opposite of the shrunken, withered mind. So therefore one always needs to apply this factor. Because aiming and the sloth and torpor that cause the mind to shrink and wither, because they are directly opposite each other, then that tells us that they can't be equal strength. The good side has to be stronger. So we have to make this factor of aiming stronger than the laziness. And the way we do this is to have the help of arada virya, or this ardent effort that has been developed. This ardent effort is what gets the upper hand over laziness. So we need to have effort. First of all, the effort to launch the practice, our initial effort. And then we need to have persistent effort to overcome obstacles. We need to boost our effort when obstacles come up. And third stage of effort is this successive effort that keeps on going up until we reach the goal. And that is called parakama dhatu. So that is the stage, the last stage of effort. So virya, we need to make our effort energetic so that the intense laziness will be overcome. Virya is what allows us to do this. And we also need to have aiming to make the mind fresh. At the start of the practice, these two factors of effort to observe the object, ardent effort, and accurate aim are the most important. Because with these two, ardent effort and then the power of aiming, sati, samadhi, and panya will automatically arise. So today, Sayadaw would like to speak about this again, so that people are sure to understand it. So at this point, Sayadaw would like to say something about jhana for the general knowledge of the yogis. So Sayadaw explained the literal meaning of jhana yesterday, that it is close, focused observation of the object. So before he speaks more about jhana, he would like to explain the term jhana, the term jhananga, or jhanic factor, and jhana sampayota citta, or the consciousness that arises together with jhana. So jhana, as Sayadaw said yesterday, is a close, concentrated, focused observation of the object. And this is the characteristic of jhana, characteristic of absorption or of absorption. It is made up of five or six factors. First is vitakka, the quality of aiming. Then there's vichara, which is the quality that makes the mind concurrent with the object, as though it's rubbing against the object. Then there's piti, joyous interest in the object. Sukha, happiness or peace. This is feeling good. And ekagata is when the mind is collected, unified on the object. And later in the practice there is upekkha, which is equanimity. So these are called the jhanic factors, or jhananga in Pali. The mind, or the consciousness that arises together with these factors, is called jhana sampyota citta, or jhanic consciousness, you might say. When the object arises, jhana has the power to observe it fully, and it also has the power to burn up the opposing factors. And just like when we burn kindling or we burn wood, when they're burned up, there's just ashes left. Jhana burns up the opposing factors in the same way, by applying heat. This is its nature. The factor of aiming, which puts the object in focus for the mind, makes the mind fresh. It makes the mind open up and blossom the way a flower does. If we have aiming every second, this quality of vitakka, then intense laziness or tina meda, sloth and torpor, has no chance to arise. And therefore, it's dispelled, it's eliminated. And this is what is meant by jhana burning up the opposing factor. So when some type of fuel is burned, there's nothing left of it. Whatever we use to feed a fire, that gets completely used up by the fire, completely burned up. And in the same way, this quality of vitakka, or aiming, burns up sloth and torpor, tina meda, so it has no power left. As for vichara, because our aim is accurate, the mind arising together with vichara is concurrent with the object, as if it's rubbing against the object. It meets the object exactly. And when that happens, the mind becomes definite about the object. There's no more wavering, no more, what was it happening? This is the quality, the wavering quality is vicikkecha, doubt. Doubt has no chance to arise because vichara takes its place. To the extent, as long as vichara continues to arise, the mind together, that it occurs together with vichara, is eliminating vicikkecha, or doubt. And this is what is meant by burning it up, burning up its opposite. When our aim is accurate most of the time, so that the mind is concurrent with the object, the mind is rubbing against the object, when this is happening most of the time, then the yogi becomes joyous. Just like when one's work is going well, one feels happy with the task and also happy with the results. So this is how the yogi feels when their noting is effective. And this joy, piti, it dispels vyabhada, or anger. This is compared to something rotten. This quality of vyabhada, or anger, is compared to something smelly and rotten, because when one is angry or dissatisfied, no one wants to be close to you. That it's as though the mind is like something that smells foul at that moment when we're dissatisfied or angry. So it's called the rotten mind. And when there's joyous interest, then this vyabhada, or the angry, dissatisfied mind, has no chance to arise. The jhanic factor of piti has eliminated it. So when our situation becomes quite good, and we feel satisfied with our work and satisfied with the way our mind is, then this piti arises, joy. And especially this happens at the stage of udiyabhya jnana, when one sees the fast arising and passing away, the very fleeting arising and passing away of phenomena. At this stage, one sees lights and experiences a lot of joy. And at that time, there are called concomitant mind states, cetasikas. There are mental factors which arise and beautify the mind. They're called the sobhana cetasikas, the beautiful factors of mind. These factors arise with a lot of momentum at this stage in the practice. When the mind meets the object exactly every time the object arises, when the aim is accurate and the mind is concurrent with the object, then one feels happy and satisfied. Like when we throw something at a target, like a dart. When we first try our hand at throwing darts, because we don't have skill yet, we don't even hit the target. And we keep on trying, and then we can hit the target, and we get some points because the dart sticks somewhere on the target. And then, when we hit the bullseye, we jump for joy. So this is a worldly example of a game that people play. But when the yogis are able to observe every object that arises, applying effort, accurate aim, when the mind rubs against the object, concurrent with the object, then joy, piti, arises automatically. And one feels, the thought arises, this is the right way to do it. This is the right way now. This method is correct. So the faith that one had in the beginning becomes stronger. One's faith is confirmed by the results that one gains in the practice. So faith increases. And to the extent that one's faith, trust and confidence increases, so does our sati. And with this, one feels both dread and disgust at the thought of missing the object. One doesn't want to miss a single object. Earlier in the practice, one had misses and one had hits. But now, when one is hitting the object every time, these beautiful mind states called the sobhana cetasikas become quite strong. So why does this happen? If we search for a cause, we see that because the mind observes the object accurately, because the aim is accurate, this makes the mind open and fresh. So there's no sloth and torpor. There's no tinamita. And the mind is definite about the object because the mind is concurrent. So there's no wavering, no doubt, no vicikecca. Because one is free of these two, tinamita and vicikecca, joy or piti automatically arises. One has no need to think about it. The mind just becomes clear and joyous with this jhanic factor of piti. And this piti eliminates vyavara, or dissatisfaction, anger. And following on piti is sukha, happiness. This too is another jhanic factor. And then the mind is collected, unified on the object. This is another jhanic factor. Without collectedness of mind, the mind becomes agitated. And if one remembers mistakes one made, then we don't feel good. And this factor is dispelled. Regret and remorse is dispelled by sukha, happiness. The collectedness of mind, the mind becoming unified, occurs because of accurate aim and the mind rubbing against the object. This is called ekagata. And this automatically eliminates kama, chanda, and nivarana, the obstacle to concentration, called sense desire, kama, chanda. This is wanting to see good things, hear good things, smell, taste, touch good things. This kama, chanda, and nivarana has no chance to arise. Ekagata, or the unified mind, the quality of unification, burns up this obstacle to concentration. So these jhanic factors, these different parts of jhana, these parts that make up jhana, each overcome their own individual opposite. And by doing that, they make the mind calm. The jhanic factors each suppress an opposing mental factor. And while the jhana is arising, then those opposing factors, or nivaranas, are being suppressed. They are quiet. But when the jhana is over, these factors can then arise again. Especially when yogis reach the stage of knowledge where they see how quickly the mental and physical, the mind and matter, which are related as cause and effect, how they very, very quickly arise and then pass away, how the old is being replaced immediately by the new, again and again. At this stage in the practice, first of all, the factor of tranquility, kaya passaddhi, citta passaddhi, this physical and mental tranquility becomes apparent. The body and mind feels very still. And then also the body and mind can feel quite light. Kaya lahuta, citta lahuta, this is called in Pali. And at this, when this factor of lightness becomes apparent, when we're doing walking meditation, it's as though the body has no weight at all. When we're sitting, it feels like the body has no weight. There's no gravity. And the mind also becomes upright, ujjukata, kaya ujjukata, setujjukata. The mind becomes quite gentle. Also mind and body, kaya mudita, Ceta Mudita. And the mind and body become very capable. This is called Kamanyata. One becomes sturdy. And the mind also becomes quite skilled in the practice. This is one feels not only both body and mind are quite able to do the practice. This is Pagunyata. They're skilled. And at this point, it takes no special effort. One doesn't need to make any special effort in order to observe the object. Before this stage, sometimes our effort will be too strong, sometimes our effort will be not enough. But at this stage, our effort is always right, and this makes the mind very nimble. And at this time too, the qualities mentioned earlier of Kayujukata, Cetujukata, this quality of mind and body being upright. At this stage, the yogi becomes very open and honest, and they admit whatever wrong they did in the past, they feel they want to admit it. And they admit their faults to the teacher quite openly, their faults and their mistakes. So this is called Kayujukata, Cetujukata. All these beautiful mind states decorate the mind, and they appear in force at this stage in the practice. This is especially due to the power of ekagata, or one-pointedness, or the unified mind. So at this stage in the practice, the yogi will not back up. The yogi will not continue. The yogi is sure to continue, because at this point they know that the method of practice is right. This is the right path. They know that results come with the practice. They see the results that come. And when one sees the practice, if one practices, one gains results in accordance with the way one practices. Then at this stage, the quality that the Dhamma has of being well-spoken, svakata, becomes very apparent. So these adornments of the mind are called sobhana cetasikas, mental factors which adorn the mind. And Sayadaw mentioned kaya pasati and ceta pasati, the tranquility of mind and body, and lightness, kaya luhuta, ceta luhuta, where one feels quite light. And he didn't go into detail about kaya mudita and citta mudita, so he wants to say more about it now. At this time, mudita, it means that the mind is gentle and pliable. So there's nothing more that is hard or harsh in the mind and body. So just like when we want to work gold into a piece of jewelry, we can do that when we heat up the gold and make it soft. Then it becomes malleable. It becomes soft enough that we can put it into any shape we want. We can make any type of jewelry we want. And this is how our mind and body become with the quality of kaya mudita and citta mudita. This quality of gentleness, being malleable, being pliable, is very important in the practice. And following this, the mind becomes capable and skilled in the practice, and one is upright and honest with no need to force oneself to be honest. Honesty comes automatically. So all these factors are called the sobhana cetasikas. They're members of that group. And sobhana means something which decorates. And these are the adornments of life, these sobhana cetasikas, or beautiful mind states. So without inner beauty, the things that we put on ourselves to make ourselves look externally beautiful, are not going to be very effective. Satipatthana is for developing inner beauty, for creating these beautiful, developing these beautiful factors that replace the things that are not so good looking. So with the jhanic factors, those the factors of mind which can make us not look so good are eliminated. At this time in the practice, kama chanda and the other nivaranas, the obstacles which prevent the wholesome mind from arising, which make the mind unclean, which weaken and prevent knowledge, because these have been eliminated, joy in the Dhamma automatically arises, Dhamma rati. This means delight, rati means delight, and Dhamma rati is delight in the method of practice called the Dhamma. So for humans, one tends to feel that sense pleasures are the best. But the Buddha said that the best of all delights is Dhamma delight. Sabarating Dhammarati jinati. That means that the delight in the Dhamma conquers all other types of delight. So for humans, we take delight in sights, delightful sounds, smelling delightful fragrances, tasting delightful foods, and touch, especially between opposites. All these things are worldly pleasures, and humans tend to value these. But Dhammarati, delight in the Dhamma, conquers, surpasses, is victorious over all these worldly pleasures. When we reach this stage, reaching this stage means that one understands the benefits of Satipatthana, and with faith one has applied effort. So to reach this stage, one can reach this stage in a week, based on understanding the benefits of Satipatthana, having faith in the ability to gain them, and applying effort. In 2 weeks, surely one can gain this stage. If in 3 weeks one has not reached this stage, then it means that either one doesn't understand the benefits that Satipatthana practice brings, or one doesn't have faith in them. Or maybe one has faith but does not cherish the benefits of the practice. Or one does not have any desire to gain them, no chanda. Or it means that the 3 stages of virya are not present. So if this is the case for such a yogi, if the yogi continues in this same way, it will not make any difference to practice another 2 or 3 weeks or however long. It is very important to correct ourselves. So what we need to do is compare ourselves with what the Buddha taught, with the path of practice, and one needs to see where one is lacking. If one sees that one doesn't match up, then what is lacking? We need to fill that up. So if the jhanic factors are not present, then that means that the obstacles to concentration have not been calmed. They've not been stilled. So Sayadaw has spoken today about the power of jhana, he spoke previously about how has the capability to observe the object in a concentrated way, and today about how it burns up the opposing factors. So tomorrow, Sayadaw will continue, and he will speak about how there are two types of jhana, Aramanupanī jhana and Lekhanupanī jhana, to use the Pali, or they are also called Samatha jhana and Vipassana jhana. So today, as the time is up, that will be all for now. Sadhu.